Keep on your toes, dude.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Anime Cvlt episode 7, I believe. As always, I'm one of your hosts, Mike, joined today by who else? Indeimaus and Dodger. How's it going?
Good.
How's it going?
Good times. I saw you were playing, right before we recorded, you were playing Marvel Rivals, Indy.
Oh, yeah. I'm getting into it. It's pretty good.
It's scarily. It's a game that shouldn't be as good as it is.
Are you guys talking about Marbo Ribo? I love that game.
You play it too, Dodger? I played with somebody named Dodger with a period at the end of their name who's
Not
playing
me.
Rocket Raccoon. I was like, I thought for a minute it was you, but I'm like, she would have recognized my name.
I am a rat main, so that makes sense. Yeah.
That's fair.
It could have been, but it wasn't. I'm so sorry.
Between last episode and this episode, this is our mini series that we were watching. It was the 12 episodes of Keep Your Hands Off Eizouken. Dodger, you were the one that suggested it. Why don't you give us a quick break? I have the breakdown here, but if you want to give us a quick breakdown of what the show was, please do.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty simple to explain, right? Keep Your Hands Off Eizouken is about 3 girls that want to make anime. They're all in like a high school equivalent, and they decide to start a film club. All 3 of them sort of excel at different elements of the animation process. And it's about sort of the tribulations and trials of basically a group wanting to make an indie animation. It really is just a love letter to the process of making a cartoon. These kids are like so passionate about their specific things. They're lovely characters. I had so much fun watching this. I thought this was so good.
It was so pleasant. And I like, out of all the new shows that I've seen for this podcast so far, I think this might be my favorite.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome.
You know, coming off me saying I don't like slice of life, maybe I was watching the wrong slice of life.
Oh my gosh, we did it. I'm so excited.
We won't get into it, but I've been watching the next one as well. And I'm like, this is what I think when I think of slice of life that I'm less positive about. But this one was incredible. Yeah. As a creative person who was once a kid who drew on paper and wanted to like animate and all that, I'm like, these characters they're just me. I wasn't a Japanese schoolgirl, but that was just that was me, like drawing little stick men, and then on the next page I draw like the level or the world they'd be in, and it was so pleasant. It was like perfectly timed as well, just something really easy to watch that made me feel better about everything.
Yeah, I do feel like from watching this myself and from talking with other people who have watched it, most people when watching it will have one of these characters, if not all of them, that they like are like, oh my God, I used to do that when I was a kid, you know? And that adds to this like really sweet element of the show, I think.
The whole opening of just like anime club and that alone in 9th grade, being like fresh in high school and trying to find a place that's just like, where can I like connect with people? And then being able to just start getting super creative. It made me immediately run and go into my closet and dig out. And I was able to find it in my fucking high school sketchbook. Because in 9th grade, I was drawing mechs. I was creating a game, or I was creating a show in my head and all this shit all the time.
Oh, nice.
I literally just grabbed it. You can't see it for the podcast, but it's like the whole thing fucking label fell off. But like right in the very, very early part of it, it's just fucking mechs that I was creating. Like for just like
yes, that's awesome.
Yeah. I have that exact same stuff.
Exactly, like that kind of shit. And you're sitting there and like writing down like what kind of class of mech it is and all this other shit. I'm like, yeah, watching this, like, yeah, it's crazy too, because the technology they have now, you know, represented in the show would have been something I would have dreamed. Like, you truly can 3-person create a base animation now.
Oh yeah, these three girls, well, the two creative ones were just absolute goats and like making background. They were like incredible artists.
Yeah, and I think it's really easy to be like, this is so unrealistic. But I think we all know people who hyperfixate on making a thing and just manage to, if they know how to animate, it can just make a thing so quick, you know?
Those are the neurodivergent people. Find them.
Yeah. I grew up with Newgrounds, which was just people making animations, which I did as well. Yeah,
with Flash,
with like doing all their stupid voices and stuff. Like, yeah, like I was living that, and I've done that. Like, it was me and another guy. We made like a little tower defense game when I was It was my first ever paycheck in like 2003.
I can see myself being these people, and if this is a technology that younger me would have killed to have the accessible tech to make this shit. Because there's no way I had like the ability back then to do Newgrounds, anything. Like I had a sketchbook and that was about as all I could do. And it's just, I don't know, it was just pleasant. It was just a really pleasant, beautiful show from start to finish. I love the art style. It gave me like almost a Gorillas-esque kind of feel to it with the animation and the way the characters
some of the like shapes of their faces and things. Yeah,
I loved it. I truly love. Like I don't know if it's one. I have to think if it's my favorite of the ones we've watched because everything I've seen has been new for me for the most part. But like it's up there. It's like a surprise as Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid was back when I saw that in like 2016. Just a slice of life show that was like, oh, this is beautiful. Like this is just a celebration. And the representation of like the process, having a producer, like the friend essentially that has to keep them in line and like, no, we gotta like do shit.
Kanamori is my favorite, I think, character.
I should use their names. Asakusa is the other.
I really love how much they delve into the like stopgaps that creatives run into, where like the two like more creative girls will just like dig their feet in about stuff, and they need a Kanamori, right? To be like, we don't have time. You can't we need a workaround. You need to like come up with a creative solution, right? Because that's so real.
It's the most realistic thing ever. Yeah.
The imagination is always going to be so much bigger.
Creative people will never stop if you don't tell them to stop.
No.
Yes.
That's why when indie game people get like a $15 million budget, they will burn through that so fast and it will go nowhere. Yeah, it's
Silk Song. Where the fuck are you?
Don't do that.
We're getting it this year. I promise.
You promise?
Hey, they're from Adelaide. I'm in Adelaide right now. I know where they live.
Okay, fantastic.
I have the Silk Song exe file.
But yeah, no, it's like, I agree. Like the representation of how things are made, how you do need someone to like rein you in, like your own hobbies. Yeah, you can go ham at creating your own fucking hobbies. But even on like our level, there has to come a point where you yourself, if you don't have somebody there to be like, no, you have to cut yourself off making a video or whatever. Like, I don't know what it's like for you, Indy and Dodger, but like, especially like back when I was creating more gaming videos and like the more scripted stuff, I was never happy. Like there was a million times I'd be like, watching it back, be like, nope, I could do this better. This would have been better. This would have been better if I just took more time doing this instead of. You sit there and you pick yourself apart forever, and unless you literally impose something on yourself, you could just sit there forever on the thing.
I've never made anything of any art form and thought to myself, it's done. I'm happy with it. Yeah. Never.
No.
Thankfully now we have sponsors who need deadlines and they're like, we need to release this video this month. So I'm like, hell yeah, thank God.
I guess it's done.
Because I'm like, I should reshoot this whole video because I could probably get the lighting and sound better.
Yeah.
And
that line better, or the cut is weird. I should have done a different take. Like, it goes on forever. But yeah, they represented it really, really well. And they did like a little microcosm of just like how this shit is created was phenomenal.
And their actual animations inside this show were super cool. Like the girl versus the tank was like, I don't know. The second one, I wasn't a big fan of.
They're too talented for how old they are.
Yeah, but the tank versus the girl was sick.
Yeah, I think oddly enough, I agree. I think their first animation was my favorite one that they did.
The Robot Club one?
No, the girl versus the tank. Yeah.
Oh yeah, wasn't that?
Was that the Robot Club? I don't remember. I saw that one a while.
No, the robot one is where, remember, they're all eating crab, and then they.
Oh yeah, the design of the crab with all the parts labeled and shit. Which that was the episode that made me go get my book. I'm like, I used to do that shit. Like labeling everything and be like, here's how the internals of the mech works.
Yeah, the Machete Girl one was for them to convince the like student council or whatever that they should get funding, which has one of my favorite scenes, which is like, because every time they show one of their animations, right, there's this element of like the things that they've animated become reality for the people watching it, right? Like it like whisks them away.
Yeah.
So I love that the first time we see that we have that happen to a big group of people and they're like, whoa, this wasn't what we were expecting. The next thing that we see is the three of them sort of quietly talking with each other about things that they should have done differently or how they could have improved it.
Yeah. They're not even paying attention to like how the review committee took that.
Yeah.
They just didn't care. They were just like creatives at heart, really, without the...
Yeah. It's like, that's truly is. They create for the sake of creation. It's not about, like, obviously you love when people love your work, but also a lot of it is just getting what's in your head out of it and just being like, just putting all that imagination out on and projecting it and then being like, well, it's not exactly how I wanted it to be. So now here's how I'm going to do it different.
And another big element for me outside of them creating shows was, I might be speaking for myself here, but back in high school and primary school, just hanging with your friends all the time, like no matter what. Like as an adult, you don't really get to do that anymore. People are busy, but back then they're just like, they'd be at school together, they'd leave school and just hang out and eat. They'd just sleep somewhere together. It's like, man, I remember like just walking home from school with friends and we'd end up God knows where doing like just whatever we wanted. And that was like that was a big element for me. I'm like, this is making me feel like my childhood.
Nostalgic.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's the same in my sketchbook. I have the buddy I hung out with all the time that has a few sketches in there. And I like has some like, holy shit. It's just like a whiplash of just like it's pencil. It's so weird to see it in front of you and be like, it still looks as like fresh as it was back then. Cause like, it's almost like time traveling in a weird fucking way of just like seeing that shit. And I don't know. This anime hit me in such a way I didn't expect it to.
Yeah, no shot. I expected it to hit me like it did. Yeah.
The main girl, like just her going out and having like inspiration walks and just like walking around everything just as like create stories in her head. Like that's the part I was like, yeah, I fucking this day. It's just great. Again, creatives. It's just I don't know. I'm babbling, but I really, really love this show.
Yeah, I love her as a character. I used to, when I was a kid, to talk about something I used to do that made me go, oh my God,
I'm sorry. It's going to happen now. It's all we do.
I used to, if I saw something and I didn't know how it worked, I would try to draw it how I thought it worked. Yeah. And so I loved that she did that all the time. She would see something and be like, okay, if I was going to build this thing, you know, even if it didn't make any sense or it was super rudimentary, she'd be like, this is how this thing works in my mind, you know? And I totally used to do that sort of shit. And my dad, who's very mechanical, would look at them and be like, this would never work because X, Y, Z. And I'd try to like adjust it, you know?
Yeah, but it's your brain trying to find the pattern, trying to like break it down, analyze it, and just like mix it with your art. Like it's cool shit. That's a cool way to like express curiosity.
For sure.
I used to do that with like for me it was Half-Life, the first Half-Life game. If there'd be a locked door, now as adults we're like, there's nothing behind that door because why would they make anything? But as a kid I'm like, there's got to be a way in that door. What, like so I'd like imagine and draw like all these, like what would be behind the room. Like in the first Half-Life, when you go back to the start and you can break the controls and like the door would open and it would take you back out to the first train that you came in on. I'm like, there's got to be a way in every room that like has
right. So, there must be a secret to every door. I draw these
like big Half-Life levels of like Black Mesa. And I'm like, okay, behind this door, that must be like
so cool.
Yeah. And now like as an adult, you look at and you're like, there'd never texture anything that you couldn't see, so it doesn't matter.
yeah.
Like, adult depression life is just.
Oh my God. It's interesting. Like on that, just it's in a more analytical way. It's interesting to see what just literally sparked your imagination. All it took was a shut door you couldn't open that just immediately created a world in your head of what could be behind there. And what's interesting is like, a lot of people aren't like that, which is just fascinating, you know, like, or they like that in their childhood. And as they grow up, they leave all that stuff behind of like allowing it to grow. And this show almost is like a love letter, like never stop imagining, like never stop just creating. And now I get it. Everybody like is that way. But for those of us who are like, it's so easy to give it up, even if because you're working the fucking 9 to 5 and all this other stuff. And don't have to make an actual anime, but it really is to me like a message of like, create for the love of creating and don't fucking stop.
Yeah, I think that's also why it was important to have, I can't remember her name, the model girl, the third girl.
Mizusaki.
Yes. I feel like that's one of the like things that she brought to the show, right? Is that she was already good at something. She already had like a career, really, as a teenager.
Yeah, she's a model, right?
It just wasn't what she was passionate about.
Yeah.
And I was actually really surprised. I was delighted, honestly. I kept waiting for there to be a drama moment because they kept pushing for her to sort of like help them promote stuff, right?
Yeah.
And she would occasionally be like, but I want this to be about the show we're making. I don't want it to be about me, And it never became like a big dramatic thing or had a falling out or anything like that. They just came to an understanding of like, we want this to succeed. You already have a fan base. So,
which is such a real conversation in the industry.
Yes, exactly. So it was like, we'll just use that, right? Because we want this thing that we do care about to succeed.
And there's an understanding, like it's kind of the subtext of like the understanding of trust that like we're doing this not to get, big or whatever, because we're not using your name to get big. We are your friend, but we're just using this as an advantage for all of us. Rising tide raises all ships kind of thing, instead of using it as a tool to get ahead and step on them until they're no longer useless or whatever.
I feel like that was a really good thing about this show as well. There was no pushback. There was no like, I'm like, oh, they're going to show off their first movie. Something's going to go wrong. People are going to hate it. No, they loved it and everything went well. Oh, something's going to go wrong here. No, like her parents are going to come and shut this down because they don't want her doing this. No, they were supportive. I'm like, no. Thank God, man. Like, we just don't need that negativity.
Yeah. No, me too. Yeah,
the biggest like contention that we had in the show was the natural sort of ups and downs of making the show, right? Like when they were doing the Gundam thing, and they came to the Gundam group or the robot group, like, here's what we want to do, and they were like, no, it's all wrong, like that sort of stuff. Again, was so believable. The idea of being like, here's our idea, and then being like, no, we can't do it that way, you have to do it this way, and trying to like see eye to eye with people who are really knowledgeable about something totally different.
Yeah, I really like when Asakusa, who was a very creative little girl who had to tell the background artist that there were problems with the background, and she was having such a hard time. Like, as people who I'm sure we've all had to give feedback on things with the people who have come to us with creative, like if it's intros or whatever we've done, and we have to tell them something's wrong. It is not easy as a creative person to be like, hey, that sucks and we need to like fix that. We're always like, that's great. One thing I would change.
The compliment sandwich. This is so beautifully
done. This is perfect. I would change.
This car is supposed to be on a cell. It should not be on this picture.
And she was sweating. It was so good. Like, she was having.
Can you just give me a version that's like this? I just want my curiosity. I just want to see how it turns out. Can you just change this? Yeah. Because you get it, though, because on the other end, when, as a creative, when you do get that critique, like, you're your own biggest critic. And when somebody does critique something you might already be kind of feeling like is a weakness of your own anyway, it just feels like you're standing naked in front of somebody and they're going, you look stupid.
Like, even a comment on YouTube video, or no matter how like bad it is, if it's something that you already noticed that on yourself, that hurts more than anything. Like,
yes, for sure. When you're like, I guess I'll just post it. It's fine. Who's gonna notice?
One person with no likes at the bottom of the comments is
like,
just
no, they saw me.
I'm terrible. Fuck.
Like, they'll just be calling you slurs, but then that one comment who's like, hey, I wasn't a fan of this. You're like, oh, me either. Like, that hurts the most.
Like,
I want to go back up to the slurs. What was I called again?
Speaking of the art group, something that I thought was going to happen in this show that didn't really is I thought that their group was going to grow potentially.
Yeah, it was only 3 people, really.
Yeah, they brought in the one girl that was holding down the sound club or whatever. And I was like, she's basically an honorary member at this point.
Yeah.
And then they had that one art club girl who seemed to really like vibe with them. And they were like, oh, we really like her. And I was like, oh my God, is she going to bail on the art club and
There's the drama
and join Eizouken? But she didn't. I kept thinking they were gonna grow, but for like sort of the sweet simplicity of the show, I think it's best that they didn't. But it was just an expectation that I had.
I think that's realistic as well.
Everything about this was like pleasant.
It's very hard to penetrate like a little small tight-knit group of friends. Like if you try and introduce someone new, even into like today, like if we have like a small group of friends that we're always with, introducing new people is always just so awkward, and like unless they click perfectly, like it's so tough to get them into the group without. So yeah, like I could see that. There was the teacher as well who was just around, the bearded one who said his beard was heavy.
they're like mentor.
Yeah, he was just like lying in the car because he had to be there while they were at school. So yeah, that was good as well. It was funny as well. I was laughing quite a few times, which doesn't happen often in like anime for sure.
I did wonder. I wonder like how much of this is like pulled from the creator's life. Like how much, as you say, like, it's hard to penetrate like that tight knit group of friends. Or like, I just wonder, a weird curiosity. I'm curious how much of this is like based on people they know or grew up with. It'd just be curious to know. And a question I have actually is like, this manga still going? When I did my research, it was a manga first, it looks like, and it looks like there's still manga coming out.
Oh,
so is this, I'm curious if like, does it continue? Are we going to get like a season 2 eventually? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think they plan to make a season 2. I think it was just the one.
Let's see. Release dates are November. The next ones are March 4th, 2025 for an English version of something.
I should start reading this manga.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's
very cute.
Or do I wonder if it's just like the English release of the Japanese? I don't know. I don't know. I thought you would know, you anime gurus.
No.
I don't know shit.
Hey, listeners, how's the manga in comparison to the anime? Let us know in the comment section.
How much more of it is it?
They're nominated, blah, blah, blah. I'm looking to see if I can figure it out. Series ranked 15th in the Dr. Stone list. Good for them.
Because like I would love more of this.
It might be over. It might just be taking forever to get the English translated versions over here.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was only Japanese, the anime.
Back to the show. There's a live action film adaptation for it. That was announced on October 15th, 2019. It was directed by Tsutomu Hanabusa and star members of the idol group Nagazaka 46. I don't know who they are.
Okay.
Bunch of pop stars. It was originally scheduled to release in Japan of May 2020, but was postponed December 25th of the same year because of COVID. So I guess it's out. And there was a live action series too. God damn, this all right. Anyway, this is just a lot of shit. Back to the anime. The other thing I really like too, this is the final episode, but the last minute music change like thing that they had to deal with and be like, yeah, that's I haven't really had to deal with that too much, but I've heard stories from other people who've had last minute like Jesse and Alex, both of them have like stories of just like last minute changes that have thrown shit.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, even just you got that 2 weeks ago, but you didn't read the email.
Oh my God.
Been there.
Yeah. Holy fuck. Yes.
And then you're like, where is that thing? Oh no.
Oh fuck.
Yeah.
It's only an animation where you've animated everything to the song as well, and having to change a song is just not.
Yes.
It is
undoable
God. Almost.
I felt so bad for her.
Yeah, they had to get rid of that whole dancing scene and add it as like a bonus on the DVD. I really like their little convention as well, where they were selling the DVDs. And
me too.
Oh yeah.
Asakaza was not happy being there either because she was so like introverted. I'm like, that's me. That's why I would never do a convention.
Immediately overstimulated. No, thank you.
Like I always like when I used to go to conventions all the time, I used to tell myself I loved them, and then I would get there and I would just stand there and watch people as I was just like, there's just too much going on, and then hours would pass and I'd leave. There's so many just like good moments throughout the whole thing. I don't know. There was just a lot of. Do you have which was your favorite character? We should probably talk about the characters a little bit in terms of like, did you connect with one more than the other? Because for me, it was Asakusa. It was her. For me, I was like, I get you. I'm in your head. I understand you. I am you. That you're my. I clicked with her immediately.
Yeah, I was gonna say Asakusa. I think is the one that I connected with the most. But the one that I loved to watch do shit was Kanamori.
Oh, she was so
Anytime
good.
Kanamori was on her shit, just doing her thing, I was like, get him! So aggro.
And she was just beating the shit out of these girls because she's like bigger than them. She's just getting Asakusa in like headlocks and just noogie in her and stuff. She was great. And her teeth, how she never opened her teeth was like such a nice touch of the animation.
My kid looked over my shoulder while I was watching this show and was like, why is she so scary?
She is scary, yeah.
She is. I was like, because she's supposed to be. Yeah, like the whole episode where they're getting like taken to task by the principal or whatever. She could not give less of a shit. It was amazing. Anytime they got threatened, she was like, "No, we're fine."
She was like their lawyer as well. She just had all the like blackmail. She had all the photos of all the people that didn't want those photos. she was on lockdown.
Did you guys watch? Was there an English dub for you?
It was all Japanese only.
Okay, cool.
Which is
apparently
really
there
good.
is an English like voice actors for this apparently on the wiki for it, so I didn't know where to find it. I heard I did not listen to it in English either.
Yeah, no, Crunchyroll just had Japanese, but I'm glad because it was really good in Japanese.
It was fantastic.
What about your favorite character, Indy?
It was
Fujimoto,
kind of
the man with the mustache.
No, yeah. So the Mr. Fujimoto was my favorite character.
His description is great on the wiki.
3 minutes of screen
like,
time.
He rarely gives direction, and he enjoys playing games in his free time.
Yeah.
He did always have a Game Boy.
Yeah.
Good touch.
Yeah, no. Kanamori was my favorite. I didn't relate to her because she was very business and money kind of oriented, but she was just
she's a good foil.
Like Dodger said, she was just very pleasant to watch. Whenever she was on screen, you were locked in. Like, what is she gonna do?
You mentioned it earlier too, and I meant to say something about it. This is a completely tangential thought, but the idea, like, I loved that, and again, it just goes with the show's so pleasant. But the friends just recognized each other's talents in each other, and like that feels, at least for like when we were a kid, so super fucking rare, unless you had healthy relationships with people. But I just love that. I love that they were just genuinely like saw each other for what they were, and that's like just a little subtext. There's just so much of it through the whole show that's just like, this is how it should be, man. Like.
Yeah, because like you were saying, how like aggressive Kanamori is, that could be in a way where you're like, this is a fucking toxic friendship. They need to get rid of her, right? But like, but really in the interactions, it's you get a lot more from her of she definitely believes in them, right? Like she acknowledges that they are so skilled.
Shit.
Yeah, and you can tell that there's genuine like rapport there. And I love that Asakusa is always like, we're not friends, we're not kama, right? It's like so cute. Like, we're just there for each other, we get each other, and we're gonna like crush it, And
if you're gonna do something like this, you need somebody who can see the forest through the trees, man. You need somebody who can get above it all. And again, it goes back, creatives can't do that. They're so lost in the fucking woods, they'll never be out. They need somebody who's above all that and be like, you're done. It's fine. We're going forward.
Yes.
Move on to the next thing.
And like, oh my gosh. Sorry, this is kind of backtracking, but
that's how we are.
the whole situation with them being like, oh, we can actually use the computer to do some of the in-between shots.
Yeah.
And them not wanting to do that, like, no, I have to hand draw all of it, right? And in the end, it makes more sense and is totally fine to use the computer to like help smooth it out, right?
Yeah,
so they do less drawing.
It's a tool,
yeah. But that initial like, no, it has to be hand drawn. It's gonna ruin it, right? Like, this is my baby, kind of a thing. And Kanamori having to be there to be like, it's not your baby. It's fine.
You have to move forward.
Yeah, and then
you also
they saw it and they're like, it looks fine. It's like, that looks fine. Don't worry about it. Yeah.
Because you can't, like, as a creative, you think everybody's going to be looking at every little detail like you are. They're going to be looking at the background and looking to check if it's handcrafted. Nobody gives a fuck about that shit. That's not what the eye is being drawn to. Right. You got to let that go.
Use what you have at your disposal.
Whenever, I'm sure we've all had big projects, and like when you're at the end of that big project, you can't look at it. You can't even see it for what it is.
You hate it.
Like, certainly if it's like you're trying to be funny, it's whatever joke you started with is no longer funny on the 400th listen. So you're like, is this video even good anymore? And you have to realize that.
Just hate the sound of your own voice.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, this isn't funny.
This is awful. Yeah. And you've spent so much time on it.
We do a live show once a year for Chilluminati, and we get the audio file to give out to the patrons and stuff. And I try to listen through it. I'm like, nope, I cannot believe I thought, why are they laughing? Like, listen to me. I sound like a moron. Like, stop.
Well, like when Duke mentioned she was listening to the one with it was solo leveling. And she's like, oh yeah, I was listening to Solo. I'm like, you listen to these? I have not listened to a single one of these. I'm like,
no, you know why I've started listening to them now is because the very first one that I listened to, when your audio was like slightly off, I was like, I feel like it's my duty now to check them all. So yeah, I just put them on during the dog walk and just listen.
Hey, you hear that, Dean? That's her trust with you as an audio engineer.
Dean, keep on your toes, dude. Dean. No, it's nice because you guys are funny. I just have to ignore myself. That's the key, really.
Yeah, wait for the Patreon version where we have one version of 3 different versions with one person cut out of each one, so you can get like whatever you want.
Perfect. Yeah. Who out of the 3 of us do you find most annoying? Have we got the track for you?
The 15 a month.
Conversation may go utterly silent for no reason for a few moments, but don't worry about it. Even for like Chilluminati, I can't go back to like big series that I've done, like 4-parters on like big historical moments, because I'm terrified I got something historically inaccurate. And I'm like, I don't want to know. It's too late. I'm done. I'm not doing the series Ben. I'm not going to do another 4-8 hour long MK Ultra breakdown. I got something wrong. And I'm a comedian. Like, I try to remember it's a comedy show first.
Yeah.
And the second, and that comes to the whole, like, no, it has to go out. And that's where the ads come in. Like, no, we have contracts. We have to get this fucking shit out. But I can't go back. I can't go back and listen to anything.
All you can do is your best, right?
Yeah. But you can't you can't fucking rewind time. You can't.
And also with the show, we're talking about a totally different podcast now, but that's fine. Who gives a shit?
This show is all about the creative and the creative process.
Right.
It makes sense.
At the end of the day, when you're trying to consolidate a bunch of information, you can't include it all, right?
No,
and I feel like a lot of times.
Yeah, it's like impossible.
I feel like a lot of times when it's like, we're going to talk about this historical thing, a lot of the pushback is like, you didn't even talk about this. And it's like, we couldn't. We had to get rid of shit. Okay.
I just did 4 2.5 hour episodes. I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I can do
don't make me talk about this anymore, dude.
Like,
you got
I don't want to read about government torture for anymore. I'm done. Please. Let me go to aliens for a little while.
Yeah. I can imagine like coming off the 3-parter serial killer. You're like, let's talk about the little gray guys. Let's go back to the gray guys.
Coming out of, what was it we did? I did one that ruined the other 2. Albert Fish was my first introduction to them being like, this is how nasty true crime can get. And it was like a cannibalistic, like, serial killer, murderer, kid killer, like cooked their bodies, kind of like horrifying thing. After that, all of us were like, ooh, we need to do something else. Like, we need to like change genres entirely.
Yeah, big time.
Like, the whole time we're making jokes, but after the end of it, you're like, that was a lot.
I mean, to a lesser extent, that's why we did Keep Your Hands Off Eizouken, right?
Yeah, because last week we were talking about
palate cleanse.
A woman being assaulted, and this week we're like, nostalgia about being creative as a kid.
Yeah, and it's lovely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And in a lot of ways, we're lucky because we still, the 3 of us still get to be creatives too. And that's, it's cool that we can still see a lot of what we deal with today in this show about high schoolers dealing with it. Like, a lot of...
Totally.
See, people say high school ends after you graduate. Fucker, it doesn't. Like, everything from the way
shit
shit's
that
created.
happened in high school is with you forever.
Yeah, man. I am mentally 18 forever in my brain. That's just how it's going to be. But love the show. I mean, I don't know what else we could really say about it. I genuinely, this was a pleasant surprise in all the right ways. So thank you, Dodger, for the suggestion. It was a phenomenal show.
Had you seen this before? I had never seen it before either. Awesome. And it got recommended to me so many times ever since it came out.
Yeah.
And I just never watched it. So I'm so glad I had a reason to watch it, because I agree. It was just lovely. Like, what a wonderful little show. I've been recommending it to people constantly since we finished it.
Yeah. I feel I'm going to talk to I have one person, my buddy who watches anime. I'm curious if he's seen it, but I'm going to rate this 6.5 robots out of 7.5.
Oh, damn. The max rating has come down from 10 to 7.
Interesting.
Boys, we lost 3 max rating. Where did that go?
Every time I take a hit, my memory goes just a little.
True. You're going to be rating out of 1 at the end of it.
1 star out of 1.
Yeah, it's perfect. I hated it.
Oh, fuck. All right, next episode we're talking about is The Big Boy. What's the name of it? Because I haven't started yet.
Ore Monogatari, my love story.
I'm about 11
it's on
in.
the slice of life.
How long? How is it? 24?
24, I think.
20, it's the big one. And then we'll announce the next small one on the next episode.
Another 12.
And then we can go back to the nasty shit, you know?
Let's watch people die.
If you want to do late 90s short anime, Serial Experiments Lane is right. That's my...
Yeah. I mean, we haven't done a mic recommendation.
We haven't
yet.
done a mic.
I don't
yet.
have any. They're all from 19.
We need to stretch your 2 out over however long we're doing this. So we got 2 recommendations between.
Well, my other one's Dragon Ball Z, all of them. So you're just like hundreds.
That might need to be a recurring episode.
yeah, we'll cover arcs like.
Yeah.
Cell arc.
Yeah, we'll do the Raditz arc and just talk about that.
And watch them do gangbusters and we get caught in the Dragon Ball Z. We get stuck doing that forever.
We got to do the OG one where there's like 9 episodes of flying and yelling and that's it. There's nothing else that happens.
Oh my gosh, yeah. We'd have to discuss are we going to watch Kai? Like where where it's cut down? Or are we watching the OG where they're powering up?
You don't want to be on the Reddit
forever?
When we cover Kai instead of Z.
Of course we do. then they'll show up to be like, I can't believe you're not watching the original. It'll be perfect.
Eating the algorithm, exactly.
And then the what soundtrack do you use? The Falcon one or the Japanese original?
That's a way. Listen, that's when our numbers start to dip. We just rage farm. We rage farm DBZ.
Here we go.
That's it.
Again, this is also part of the creative process. Let's go.
Exactly. We'll cover GT before we cover Dragon Ball Z.
Well, yeah, because GT is like the best of all of them. So.
Right. GT is the best one.
Yeah.
So
that's where the super, that was fan fiction made real, essentially.
All
right. It's fucking awful. All right, yeah, we gotta go. I'm not gonna end the episode where you think I truly enjoyed GT.
Yeah, we'll keep this episode positive. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much for listening. We'll be back soon with the next big boy. Thank you again so much. What's the pitch for the next show? Have we already told what the pitch is?
So Ore Monogatari is about a big scary boy with a heart of gold. And he, by happenstance, meets a sweet girl,
the tiniest girl,
his age, the tiniest, smallest, sweetest girl. Okay. And it's their love story. It's another one that's just very sweet. It's about them connecting with each other and falling in love, and it's lovely.
It is very wholesome and it is funny, I think.
Okay. I'm excited to watch it, and I'm excited to talk about it. Thank you all so much for listening here. Thank you, as always, my beautiful co-host. We'll be back soon enough. We appreciate you. We love you all. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Keep on your toes, dude.